Ave. Did you notice how every game is trying to be everything for everyone nowadays? And how many studios have closed because of exactly that? There's a moment when a game stops speaking to the player it was made for and starts shouting at the crowds that don't care. It happens quietly over years, as we've seen in the past decade. It's like an erosion. A few more accessibility options, a simplified system here, some removed mechanics there, and suddenly the game that once challenged us, respected us, expected something of us, no longer knows us. This is the paradox of chasing broader appeal. When you chase a larger audience, one that is unintended for your game, you end up chasing away all of it. The wider the net, the emptier the hall. And no genre has suffered more from this than the very ones built on friction, such as puzzle games and Souls-likes. A genre forged in patience and failure, once reserved for those who wanted to earn their victories. Now it finds itself littered with hand-holding tutorials and checkpoint spam and boss patterns designed to flatter instead of being designed to test us. And this isn't about getting good or gatekeeping behind difficulty. It isn't even about difficulty. It's about changing a specific game's core design and alienating its audience. There are plenty of games for everyone, but not all of them should do everything. The idea for the devs is clear, apparently. They want to lower the barriers, to increase the flood, get all kinds of players in there. But what happens when the core audience no longer sees themselves in the game? They leave. You know, it reminds me of this saying that if you have two different groups of friends, never introduce them to each other, because it's never going to go well. They're completely different. They have different wants, different needs, different likes, and when you put these two groups together, they're going to clash. And it's going to blow up on you in the end, the dev. The new audience never sticks. And that middle ground, it becomes a total graveyard. The story of modern game design is full of developers who forgot who they were building for. BioWare went from the intricate roleplay of Baldur's Gate and Dragon Age Origins to this open-world checkbox hunt of Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem and God forbid that latest Dragon Age, which I even forgot its name, thank God. But anyway, the audience feels this. They feel the game no longer trusts them, no longer respects their time, and especially the intelligence. They see systems designed to smooth every edge and reward every action and blur every failure. They've been treating us like babies, and this seems to be the case even outside of games, but let's stick to games for now. Games that used to ask something of you now just beg you to stay. And this is where the churn begins. See, the loyalists, the ones that would have played every sequel, evangelized to their friends and bought the DLC, the art book, the special version and whatnot. These people are the first ones to leave because they remember what it felt like to be spoken to directly. They felt a connection with the developer. They felt they were together. And now all they hear is marketing talk and marketing copy. And those newcomers, they never had skin in the game to begin with. They just pick it up on sale, bounce off it after a few hours, play it 5 minutes on Game Pass, and just move on. There are no roots that take hold, and no loyalty forms, so it ends up being a slow death by overextension. It seems to me like devs now work out of fear of losing players, out of fear of insulting somebody, out of fear of not pleasing everybody, and they're trying to build this funnel of a game that gets everybody in there, and they tighten up the end so nobody can leave, but you cannot force that. What you end up doing is inverting that funnel. Now nobody wants to go in and everybody wants to leave. The moment you design around fear of losing the player or fear of any kind of criticism, you begin to erase the very things that made people stay. Not all friction is bad. Some of it is the point. The puzzle without struggle is not a puzzle. The boss without consequence is not a boss. A game that does not demand anything cannot offer anything either. And remember PUBG? It was number 1 with 3.3 million concurrent players, still number 1 in the charts. The very reason it was that popular is because it did the opposite. It made the game extremely demanding, extremely hard, gave you nothing, literally and figuratively. You had to find your way, you had to find everything, you had to fight, and then When you succeeded against all odds, that's when you got that amazing reward. And that's what we love about games. Look at Rocksteady. They spent a decade building goodwill through Arkham Trilogy, and with tight combat and this immersive world building and a Batman who felt grounded in its grit. And then they produced Suicide Squad, a loot-driven co-op shooter saturated in purple numbers and Battle Pass garbage. The fan base went crazy. They recoiled. The studio had no idea who it was making the game for. They were trying to please shareholders and trend analysts and live service evangelists, not us, the players. And it collapsed. The game barely made a dent. Decades of trust gone. All for a shot at this imaginary audience that never showed up. And now studios are increasingly obsessed with broadcasting player numbers instead of copies sold. Did you notice that? They are hoping to signal growth to analysts and investors. That's their audience now. Even if those players are bots or tourists or 5-minute window shoppers, it's no longer an art form for them. It's no longer out of love of the game. It's purely business. And that shows. And like we said earlier, the issue is not about difficulty or monetization or genre bloat. It's about having a voice. Games that succeed to have a voice, a clear voice, say that this is who we are, this is who we are for. Stardew Valley did not add gunplay to please action fans, and Dwarf Fortress did not add quest markers to bring in casuals. RimWorld did not dumb down its simulation to attract streamers. They stayed true. They trusted their players to rise to the challenge, and the result is fiercely loyal base. A long tail of support, a culture that builds around it. It's not just a product anymore. These games may seem rare now, but their success proves something very vital. That clarity is more valuable than reach, and that commitment creates the long-lasting community. I've recently played God of War Ragnarok, and while I thought it was a good game, I enjoyed it, I felt like it was overly simplified in every way possible, and the puzzles, which are exciting for me usually, well, I couldn't do them because the game doesn't even give you 5 seconds to think about it. Did you realize that? As soon as it presents you with an issue, as soon as you're presented with a puzzle, immediately your companion gives you the answer. Like within a microsecond, it's like, oh, you should probably shoot over there, or you should probably pull that lever. Bro, give me 3 seconds to try it myself at least. And games are not Excel sheets. They are statements. And the audience listens closely to what those statements are. When a studio speaks from a place of vision, the audience responds. When it speaks from a place of fear, the audience vanishes. This is the mistake that repeats across the industry lately. The assumption that bigger means better, that more systems means more fun, that reaching new players must come at the cost of the ones who got you there. And clarity builds legacy. A diluted game is like a diluted drink. It looks the same, but the taste is gone. And once that flavor disappears, so does the reason to come back. Success in this industry does not come from chasing players. It comes from earning them. That means standing for something, declaring who you are without fear, declaring what you expect and why you matter. Let the right people answer the call. When a game knows exactly who it's for, the audience feels that in its friction, in its silence, and its restraints. And recently, the clearest sign of a studio that has lost its way is this obsession with broadcasting player numbers instead of copies sold. Everybody's just saying player numbers this, player number that, within 3 days of the game being released. Who are they really speaking to? The shareholders, the analysts, the opportunists, not us, the players. A game that brags about tens of millions of players who stuck around for like 2 minutes is not celebrating art. It's selling you a metric. But art does not scale that way. Legacy does not scale that way. Legacy comes from saying something, from risking something, from standing for something. It comes from clarity, from commitment, and the courage to choose your audience instead of begging for one. And here's to hoping that devs grow a pair of cojones, and I mean that figuratively, please devs, because we need you to have a vision, to have an audience you're aiming for, and give your maximum to that specific audience without fear of any kinds of repercussions, without fear of not pleasing everybody, because you never will. Just stick to what you know, stick to what you do best, and when you build it, they will come.